Raiders posted in a, speaking of Ask Us Anything session back in late January, that he thought Kansas would lose 3 or 4 more games. He said, he pointed out Kansas has lost 2 since then. Do we think they'll lose basically 2 more? Do you think Kansas will lose? How many do you think Kansas will lose out of the 5 big remaining? I can't say it. How many games do you think Kansas will lose out of the remaining 5 Big 12 games?
Yeah, well, I think there's one for sure. Well, for sure. I think they're going to lose.
I can't believe you said that. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think they're coming in here and beating Tech. It could happen, but that's one loss to my mind. But I'm not sure they lose again. I mean,
where do they play West Virginia? Is it in
West Virginia and Oklahoma, both in Lawrence? And those games are back to back. Those are the next 2 games. So, you know, I think they probably win both of those. I really do. They go down to Stillwater for Senior Day. Okay, which could be interesting. That could be a little bit perilous. But I think Kansas would probably still have a little bit too much for Oklahoma State, especially if a Big 12 title is somewhere hanging in the balance. So, you know, I think they probably lose 1 more. But that may be enough for Texas Tech. 1 loss.
So I was going to say, so basically if Tech only loses 1 more time, you think they win the title?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, you know, if you bump off Kansas and then Kansas wins out, you've got 2 mulligans in your pocket right there. You can lose 2 more games, and you still got the head-to-head tiebreaker with Kansas.
I'm not sure. I have to look at the rules, but I think they would still do co-champs, even if you beat them twice. Because this is the Big 12, where 1 true champion. I mean, what? No, but I do think, I'll have to check, and if I'm wrong, y'all correct me, but I'll double check. I think even if you win the head-to-head, if you tie record, it's still co-champs, which Big 12 is a gift that keeps on giving, you know? Right. But, you know, I mean, hey, if you win 4, including beating one of those wins being Kansas, then you're champ. So, all right. Panther Cat says, name the 2 most likely and only 2 next men's basketball, I think he meant commits. And also he wants to know if Webster starts next year at point. I don't think he starts next year at point. I've already said a million times, I think Jarrett Culver is going to be your point next year. And I know, I get the sense that you don't agree with me on that, but I really do. I think I've heard Beard mention it a couple times, and even against Oklahoma on Tuesday night, Culver played some point for you. So I think Webster will be a guy, that plays point for you, and I think his role is going to increase, but I don't think that, I think Culver's going to be your guy. What do you think?
I think it's going to be that C.J. Roberts guy. Once he gets rolling, obviously he comes in second semester, and he's not going to automatically take the job over immediately. But I think once you get down to crunch time, February, I think that's going to be your starting point guard.
All right, as far as the next commits, I'm going to go with Kayvon Moore because he listed Tech in his top 4. He broke his leg, or he would have already visited. But he's still supposed to take an official out here. So he's a 4-star forward, 6'7". He can play 4, but he's really like a face-up scorer kind of forward. He's a really good player. I like your chances with him, especially since you keep on winning. All right, speaking of recruiting, Mighty Joe, I'm really interested to see. I have a hint of what you're going to say here, but Cojones wants to know who is Texas Tech's biggest basketball recruit ever.
That's a tough question. There's 2 that really spring to mind, and you may have somebody totally different in mind, actually. But one of them would be Sean Gay.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you who don't have any gray hair or anything like that, we're walking with a cane. Sean Gay came out of Houston, Madison. I believe it was in 1985. Generally regarded as top player in the state of Texas. He was the best player on a team that went, I believe, 38-0 or 35-0. Was generally rated maybe the best high school basketball team in America, and everybody wanted that guy. Georgetown was hard after him back when Georgetown, was Georgetown, right? Gerald Myers getting him, that was a huge deal. And he was definitely a top 100 national player, no question about it. He's one of them. The other one is Bubba Jennings.
There you go.
Was that the guy you had in mind?
No.
Okay, well, Bubba Jennings, now this is back...
He was just on our radio show in the last month, too, talking with him. I know he was a big deal coming out of high school.
Oh, he was huge.
Mexico,
he was
right?
huge. Yeah, Clovis, New Mexico.
Yep.
And the thing is, back in those days, I think he came to Tech in 81, something like that. I mean, they didn't have all these big recruiting services and rankings and all this stuff, but it was, everybody knew about Bubba. Kansas was wanting him badly, so that gives you an idea right there. And I remember, I mean, I was kind of a young pup back then, but I remember all the hoopla surrounding him visiting and so forth, and you just didn't get that sort of stuff out of recruiting and basketball recruiting at Texas Tech in those days, or just about anywhere. But it was a huge, huge deal. Everybody in this part of the world knew all about him. When he visited, the Double T scoreboard over in Jones Stadium was flashing Bubba, Bubba, Bubba.
Awesome.
And that was about as far as you could possibly go back then. So yeah, when he came to Texas Tech, it was a huge, huge deal. I figure, you know, if he had been playing high school ball now, he would have been a top 75, maybe even top 50 sort of a player. He was big.
Tough to top those two. In Bubba, like you said, I mean, well, heck, he won Southwest Conference Player of the Year one year. So, I mean, he's an accomplished student. I mean, Gay was really good on some of those quality mid-'80s teams. So, yeah, I mean, they panned out, you know. I'm going with a guy in the kind of the modern era this century who was good but didn't live up to the hype. I'm going to say Dwaylen Roberts out of Duncanville. He was a 4-star guy, one of the last 4-star guys you've signed. He was one of 2 that class, actually. Roberts, and then the other guy was John Roberson. He was another 4-star guy. And, you know, Roberts ended up having a decent career, but he wasn't coming out of Duncanville. Those Duncanville teams were really good. He was like a 4-star guy. He didn't live up quite to that hype. But Reckham279 wants to know, what non-starter on defense from last year do we think has the best chance to make a big impact this fall?
I'm going to go with old Q, Quentin Yance. That's a guy that flashed a little bit last year. You know, he got a fair number of snaps, not huge, but he definitely got some game. No question about it. And an active, aggressive sort of a player. I think he can play multiple positions on the defensive line. And I could see him doing some good this year. I really can.
That's a great pick. I'm going to go with Adrian Fry. I think he could step up. Gibbs has kind of mentioned him and some of the DBs who redshirted last year. Really, every chance he's had, any availability he's had with us, he's mentioned those guys. And Fry is a guy I know they're really high on. I mean, you look at was named DeMarcus Fields, who seemingly came out of nowhere, but they were dropping little hints about him. Then all of a sudden, boom, he's starting against Oklahoma State, and he starts the rest of the year. You know, so I think you could see something similar to that with Fry, where, you know, maybe the second or third game of the season, he's in there and he doesn't give up a starting role the rest of the year, because his size and athleticism is a really good combination. All right, our final question comes from Tech Freak. The question is, with basketball, baseball, track and field, even the chess team, meat judging, all dominating, doing so well, what does the soccer, golf, and tennis teams need to do to step up? I kind of feel like this is a trick question, because I know, I mentioned the Rockin' pregame show. I know we do, honestly, this is why I know this. We do kind of like just a schedule coming up, and they go, and Pete Christie goes over the other sports that honestly I don't really have the time to cover. There's just no way. But they're doing well. I mean, you look at, let's start with girls soccer team. Okay, they won 9 games, which winning 10 in a soccer season is considered a quality season. It's like winning 20 in basketball. And they won 9, and it was kind of a disappointing year for them, honestly, this last year. But Tom Stone, he's had them going for a while, and they're just 2 years removed from winning the first ever Big 12 championship in the program's history. So they went 2 rounds deep in that year in 2015 in the tournament, so which was kind of disappointing. They expected to go further, but they did win that Big 12 title. You look at women's golf, they are, last I saw, 46th in the country, so that's where you kind of say, well, you'd like them to be a little bit better, especially compared to the standard being set by all the other sports. But men's golf, looking at my notes here, they're ranked number 14 in the country. All right, so they're a player on the national scene. Men's tennis, 24, and I know they've had some pretty big wins this season. So, and then women's tennis is top 10. They're number 8. So, I mean, I guess compared to Tech basketball being top 10, track being number 1 in the country, baseball being consensus preseason top 5. Yeah, I guess those teams need to step up. But really, when you look at it, I mean, other than football, women's basketball, everybody is kicking butt right now.
Yeah, like baseball and basketball, and these guys are blowing the curve for everybody, right?
Right,
yeah, I mean, boy, what?
They're the eggheads in the front that know, everything you said, blowing the curve.
That's it, man. So nothing to be ashamed of anywhere, though.
No.
Really,
Really, everyone's going to focus on football, and I get it, rightfully so. We're in Texas. I completely understand that. I'm not begrudging that. But when you look at it as a whole, this athletic department is kicking serious butt. And I think that's what Tech Freak was probably wanting us to get to, is that, and it's really good, it's really important that basketball, another major sport, major TV sport, is doing what it does. Because baseball, great, but it's not a huge TV sport, you know what I mean? Most people on the street aren't going to, oh, really? They have a good baseball team? Okay, but they do. It is an elite program. Basketball is kind of bringing attention to everything. You just get women's basketball, even just to competing, and then of course football. If you can get them stepping up, winning a couple more games next season, then we'll really have something to talk about, Mighty Joe.
Yeah, that's right, man. So just come on, fellas, step it up. Lady Raiders football, it's on you now.
Yeah,
all right.
The Fighting Kingsburys, come on, it's now or never, now or never. All right, but great stuff from you as always, Mighty Joe. Awesome questions from y'all, and until next time.